Have you ever noticed how something as simple as walking across the living room can feel like crossing a mountain when your joints are stiff and aching? For many people over 50, rheumatoid arthritis sneaks into daily life like an uninvited guest, slowly draining energy, independence, and joy. The real surprise, though, is that while medications play an important role, what's on your plate can be just as powerful as what's in your pill box. That's right. Food can either fan the flames of inflammation or gently cool them, giving you back moments of freedom you thought were gone. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Channel Wellness Blueprint Over 50. Today, I'll take you on a journey through the foods that can help relieve pain, protect your joints, and even slow the march of disease, while also revealing the foods that quietly make things worse. When I think about the healing power of food, I often remember a patient of mine named Margaret. She was 68 when I first met her, and she walked into my office with a cane and eyes full of frustration. She told me, "Dr. Brian, it feels like my body has betrayed me. Even buttoning my blouse hurts." Like so many with rheumatoid arthritis, she thought her destiny was a lifetime of worsening pain. But what she didn't realize was that some of the most powerful medicine was waiting for her at the dinner table. Let me walk you through the very foods that gave Margaret a new lease on life, and may very well help you too. Let's begin with fatty fish. Imagine inflammation as a fire inside the body, one that slowly smolders in the joints. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trout are like pouring cool water onto that fire. They're rich in omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, tiny warriors that travel through the bloodstream, calming angry immune cells and lowering markers of inflammation like C-reactive protein. Margaret started eating salmon twice a week, and within a few months, she told me her morning stiffness had eased. This isn't just anecdote. Numerous studies, including one in the journal Annals of the Rheumatic Diseases, have shown that omega-3s reduce pain and joint swelling in people with rheumatoid arthritis. Beyond that, these fish bring vitamin D, essential for strong bones that often suffer when arthritis limits movement. Think of fatty fish as both shield and salve, protecting the joints and soothing the pain. Now let's wander through the garden of fruits and vegetables. Nature's color palette is also nature's pharmacy. Bright berries like blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries carry antioxidants that mop up free radicals, the unstable molecules that stir up inflammation like sparks from a campfire. Leafy greens such as spinach and kale deliver vitamins C and E, which help build collagen, the scaffolding of healthy joints. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower contain sulforaphane, a compound shown to slow cartilage damage. When Margaret added a bowl of mixed berries to her breakfast and a generous portion of greens at dinner, she wasn't just filling her stomach, she was fortifying her joints with natural defenses. Every color on her plate became a brushstroke painting her future with less pain and more mobility. Nuts and seeds are another underestimated ally. Walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds are loaded with plant-based omega-3s. Almonds provide vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects joint tissues. Pumpkin and sunflower seeds are rich in magnesium, which helps calm inflammation and keeps bones strong. Think of nuts and seeds as pocket-sized packets of joint nourishment. They're easy to sprinkle over oatmeal, blend into smoothies, or simply snack on by the handful. Margaret kept a small jar of mixed nuts on her kitchen counter and said it was her daily crunch of relief. Whole grains are next, and they play a quiet but vital role. Unlike refined grains that spike blood sugar and stir up inflammation, whole grains like oats, quinoa, brown rice, and whole wheat bread provide fiber that nurtures a healthy gut. And here's something many don't realize. Your gut health is deeply tied to your immune system. A balanced microbiome can help reduce inflammatory responses throughout the body. Whole grains also contain selenium and magnesium, both crucial for calming inflammation. Margaret swapped her white bread for whole grain and her sugary cereal for steel-cut oats. It was a small change, but small hinges swing big doors, and soon her energy felt steadier, her pain less consuming. Olive oil deserves its own spotlight. Extra virgin olive oil is liquid gold for joint health. It contains oleocanthal, a compound that acts much like ibuprofen, but without the side effects. Studies show it can reduce the activity of enzymes that cause pain and swelling. Olive oil also brings polyphenols, antioxidants that protect cells from damage. Margaret began drizzling it over her salads and using it to cook instead of butter. She laughed one day and said, "I never thought oil could make me feel lighter." That's the beauty of olive oil. It lubricates life itself. Then come legumes, beans, lentils, and peas. These humble foods are rich in plant protein, fiber, folate, iron, magnesium, and potassium. They support a healthy gut microbiome, which again ties back to calming the immune system. They also help keep blood sugar stable, preventing spikes that fuel inflammation. Lentil soup, black bean chili, or a handful of chickpeas in a salad can be both comforting and healing. Margaret loved making lentil stew, and she swore it not only warmed her body, but softened her pain. Green tea is a gentle yet powerful companion. Inside each cup lies a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin galate, which is like a guardian for your joints. It blocks inflammatory chemicals and helps protect cartilage from breaking down. Margaret enjoyed a cup of green tea each afternoon, and she told me it became both a ritual of calm and a remedy for her swelling. Science backs this up. Researchers have found green tea reduces markers of inflammation and may even slow disease progression. Finally, let's talk about garlic and ginger. These two kitchen staples pack medicinal power. Garlic contains sulfur compounds that block inflammatory pathways. Ginger has bioactive compounds called gingerols that work much like natural anti-inflammatory drugs. Together, they can ease joint stiffness and pain. Margaret began grating fresh ginger into her tea and adding garlic to her soups. She once told me, "I feel like my food is fighting for me." And she was right. Her meals became her allies. When we look at all these foods together, fish, colorful produce, nuts, seeds, grains, olive oil, legumes, tea, garlic, and ginger, they form more than a diet. They form a healing rhythm, a daily symphony that can restore some control over rheumatoid arthritis. Margaret still has the condition, but today she gardens, knits, and even dances with her grandchildren. Her cane leans unused in the corner, a quiet reminder of what life used to be. Just as some foods act like allies, gently cooling the flames of inflammation, others act like saboteurs, quietly throwing gasoline onto the fire. Margaret, the patient I told you about earlier, didn't just find relief by adding healing foods to her plate. She also discovered freedom when she learned what to set aside. Let's walk through the foods that can worsen rheumatoid arthritis. Foods that seem harmless at first glance, but can steal comfort, mobility, and independence when consumed too often. First, processed and fried foods. Imagine your joints as a set of finely tuned hinges. Every bite of fried chicken, French fries, or packaged snack loaded with trans fats is like pouring thick sludge into those hinges. The excess unhealthy oils create compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, that accelerate joint damage. High amounts of omega-6 fatty acids in these foods further disrupt the body's balance, pushing the immune system into overdrive. Margaret confessed that fried foods were her guilty pleasure. When she let them go, she was surprised how quickly her swelling eased. Research has shown that diets high in fried and processed foods increase inflammation and worsen arthritis pain, making these items more than just a temptation. They're active contributors to suffering. Next are refined carbohydrates, the white breads, pastries, and sugary cereals that may bring momentary comfort but leave behind a trail of inflammation. Think of refined carbs as quick-burning firewood. They spike blood sugar rapidly, and the body responds by releasing inflammatory chemicals. For someone with rheumatoid arthritis, this is like tossing sparks into already smoldering joints. Margaret used to start her mornings with white toast and jam, only to feel her hands stiffen by mid-morning. When she shifted to oats and whole grains, her energy became more stable, and the joint pain didn't flare as fiercely. The difference was night and day. Red and processed meats are another culprit. Beef, sausages, and deli slices carry saturated fats that fan inflammation and raise cholesterol, adding cardiovascular strain to an already vulnerable body. Cooking these meats at high temperatures, grilling, frying, or broiling, creates more AGEs, those damaging compounds I mentioned earlier. Margaret had always been fond of bacon, But when she limited it to rare occasions and instead leaned into fish and legumes, her body thanked her. Scientists have consistently linked high intake of red and processed meats with worse arthritis symptoms and even higher risks of other inflammatory diseases. Sugary drinks may seem harmless, a quick refreshment on a warm day, but for joints under siege, they're like poison disguised as sweetness. Soda, sweetened teas, and energy drinks flood the body with added sugars that trigger sharp blood glucose spikes. Each spike sets off a chain of inflammation, making pain and stiffness worse. Margaret once drank cola every afternoon out of habit, but when she replaced it with green tea, she noticed less swelling in her fingers. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has confirmed that sugar-sweetened beverages are linked to increased levels of C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation. So what feels like refreshment is, in truth, a slow attack on the joints. Alcohol is another tricky one. In small amounts, some studies suggest it may not do much harm, but for those with rheumatoid arthritis, excessive alcohol is dangerous. It interferes with medications like methotrexate, commonly used to manage RA, and it disrupts the delicate balance of immune signals. It's like giving your immune system confusing instructions, pushing it to attack the joints even harder. Margaret used to enjoy a nightly glass of wine, but her liver struggled under the combination of alcohol and in her medications. When she switched to sparkling water with lemon, her blood work improved and so did her energy. The message here isn't that you can never enjoy a toast, it's that alcohol must be approached with caution, especially when your joints and your liver are already fighting battles. High-salt foods are another hidden villain. Chips, canned soups, pretzels, and processed meals often pack more sodium than the body needs. Sodium draws water into tissues, leading to puffiness, swelling, and increased blood pressure. For arthritic joints, that extra swelling feels like turning up the pressure in an already tight space. Margaret admitted she had relied on canned soups for convenience, but when she shifted to fresh, homemade versions with herbs instead of salt, she noticed her fingers weren't as puffy. Studies have shown that high sodium intake can worsen inflammation and increase the risk of autoimmune activity, making salt not just a flavor enhancer, but a trigger for pain. Finally, dairy, specifically certain full-fat dairy products. Milk, cheese, and cream provide calcium and protein, but in some individuals with rheumatoid arthritis, the casein protein or lactose may provoke inflammation or digestive distress. It doesn't affect everyone, but for those sensitive, it's like adding fuel to the fire. Margaret struggled with bloating and joint aches after eating ice cream. When she switched to almond milk and occasional lactose-free yogurt, her digestion improved and her pain lessened. For some people, low-fat or plant-based alternatives are a gentler way to get the nutrients without the inflammatory side effects. When you step back and look at this list, fried foods, refined carbs, processed meats, sugary drinks, excess alcohol, salty snacks, and heavy dairy, it becomes clear. These foods are not just empty calories, they're saboteurs that quietly chip away at mobility, independence, and joy. Avoiding them doesn't mean a life of bland meals. It means choosing flavors and foods that love you back. Margaret once told me, "I thought giving up these foods would feel like loss, but what I gained, freedom to move, freedom to play with my grandkids, was worth more than every cookie, every soda, every fry." And that's the truth I want for you, too. Food is not just sustenance, it's daily medicine, daily sabotage, or daily healing. The power lies in what you choose to invite onto your plate and into your future. So here we are, standing at the crossroads of choice. On one side are the foods that stir up pain and hold you back. On the other, the foods that soothe, protect, and open doors to the life you still deserve. Margaret's story is proof that change is possible at any age, and your story can be next. I'm Dr. Brian, and my hope is that you leave today not only with knowledge, but with courage. The courage to fill your plate with healing. Subscribe to Wellness Blueprint Over 50, and let's walk this path toward freedom together.